And welcome to Synder. Dash is here and I'm thrilled to guide you through. In this video, we will go through Synder's flow from scratch to the final account setup for e-commerce and SaaS businesses. So stay tuned. A quick overview of Synder capabilities you'll learn today. Automated data sync from all your sales channels. Accurate records of data in your books with our current account. Detailed profit and loss report by product, subscriptions, and sales channels. One-click reconciliation, even for multiple platforms. For e-commerce businesses, such things as smooth inventory tracking in your books, POS and cash transactions management, accurate reports for tax filing, also management of processing fees, and automated tracking of discount, shipping, gift cards, and even more. And this demo will be structured this way. I will start with the account creation and platforms connection, then we'll check how to sync transactions, how you look in the books, and how to adjust Synder settings for your needs. We'll also see the profit and loss report, reconciliation flow, and some other useful features. So let me share what Synder is in brief. Synder is a software designed to automatically transfer ongoing transactions from sales channels like Shopify, Amazon, Stripe, PayPal, and many others into accounting systems like QuickBooks, online or desktop, Xero, or inbuilt Synder accounting module. The detailed synchronization feeds your accounting system with all the information necessary for the detailed reporting. And features like skip duplicates ensure that the reconciliation of sales from multiple systems is no longer a painful process. The idea is to unite similar business tools under one roof. So let's get started. This is the very first step in the software where you select how Synder can help you. If you just need to sync your sales channels with an accounting platform like Shopify with QuickBooks or something else, select Synder Sync. In case you need a reporting software with live data helping you with business decisions, select Sales Analytics. You can also do both if needed. You'll get both data sync and the detailed reporting. Once done, hit Next Step. And now we are to create an organization together. It's like an ecosystem that will unite your books and all the online sales channels. So let's fill in the organization details like your business name, time zone, country, how long have you been in business, your revenue for the last year, then is your business run online or offline, and what products do you sell, and the industry you're in. If you select physical products, you'll also have the option to select the type of business that you run. So you also select it like that. And if you're an accountant, you might think of it as of setting up a client. You'll be able to add more organizations later. If you're not an accountant or a bookkeeper, but you have one, it's definitely a good idea to invite them right away. If you're an accountant, you'll be able to invite your client later once all the platforms are connected. So we hit Next Step, and now we are to select your sales channels. See the list available here as well under View All Processors button. Yep, and I would recommend connecting literally each platform, especially if you have an e-commerce store like Shopify with several payment gateways, like in my case. I accept payments in Shopify+Stripe, so I connect them both to Synder. And Synder will ensure that there are no duplicates and the information is taken from all places. If you have several accounts with one payment gateway, let's say Stripe, you'll be able to connect one of them on the next steps. And you can also add more platforms later once the account is created. So once we're done here, we click Next Step. And speaking of accounting platforms supported at the moment, you can connect QuickBooks, online or desktop, Xero, or Synder Accounting or inbuilt accounting module. You will be able to enable or disable synchronization for any platform at any time, or even undo every change to your books if something goes in the wrong direction. And I will show Synder flow today on the example of Xero, Shopify, and Stripe, but the process is nearly the same for all other platforms. So at this step, we just select Xero and hit Next Step. And at this step, let's connect your accounting platform. Grab the connection guides for your specific accounting platform above in the Setup Assistance section. Synder will work with data in a super secure mode, so no worries. Just make sure you're the admin of Xero company and hit Connect. Then click Allow Access. Now it's time to connect our payment platform. If you're not an admin, invite the owner through this option and let them securely enter credentials on their end. Then you'll be able to proceed. If you're an admin, just follow Synder instructions or just hit connect. In our case, we'll need to copy the name of the Shopify store to proceed with the connection of Shopify. So we just open Shopify, copy the store name, paste it into Synder and hit connect. Synder will redirect you to the page with Shopify, where you'll be able to grant Synder permissions to connect. So I just hit install app. And one final connection step is to select your checking account for payouts. It should be your bank to which your payment provider or eCommerce sends money deposits. If your bank is not connected to your accounting system yet, just skip this step and you'll be able to change the setting later once the bank is connected. An important note, it won't duplicate any existing bank feed records, but it's needed for automated reconciliation. Synder syncs not only sales transactions and fees to the clearing account, but also the payouts. And those payouts or deposits or settlements, they are needed for a smooth matching under your bank feed. See more info in the question section above. And if you have several platforms, the next step would be just to connect the other ones one by one. So we just hit connect for Stripe since I'm the admin. Then you just make sure you select the right Stripe account if you have several ones, and then just hit connect. And the same step is needed for Stripe. You just select the checking to which Stripe pays out. Once done, hit continue and then finish connection. And now you're ready to go. So now as we have everything connected, let's see how Synder can be set up. The best course of action on a trial would be to check how the results of the synchronization look in your books, tailor settings a bit, and after you verify everything looks good, subscribe to automate the synchronization of ongoing transactions. So let's go through this process together as well. As soon as the sales platform is connected to Synder, the software imports and syncs around 10-15 recent transactions for the recent month. And you can also import the data for the last month on a free trial, so you'll have some transactions to test it out, as I'll show you just a bit later. All the new transactions will be synced automatically on the background as long as your account has an active subscription. So the manual sync is only needed for kind of testing purposes and for importing and syncing historical data. So I connected all the platforms to Synder, and the first step will be to check the results. Just click on View Sale in Xero, and we'll see this transaction that we created in Xero automatically. So we can see that the invoice has all of the details about the customer, the address, the product, the amounts, the dates. The product, just one note, it's specified in the description. That's because of the way how I have my Stripe set up. And if you don't invoice from Stripe, it's also most likely a use case for you too, because if you just accept payments in Stripe, if it's set up as the payment gateway and website or something like that, usually those are just charges coming to Stripe without any invoices, and those charges, they don't have the fixed field for the product name. So usually it's specified in the description, as in my case. So the transaction has all the details about the amount, the fees, the date, customer, and so on, but the product details are in the description. So just a bit later, we'll see how we can fix that in Synder. Meanwhile, let's also check the fee by clicking on this View Fee button. Here is how the fee got reported. So those are processing fees from Stripe. Technically, we record the sale part of the transaction as the invoice plus payment, and we record the processing fees as the bill plus bill payment. So it works like that. The fees go to the Stripe processing fees as the category by default. It also can be changed if needed. And basically, yeah, that's how it looks. And if we're all good with the results, we just click looks good. We'll be able to make some changes just a bit later once we explore the rest. And some additional information about Synder, some Synder basics. It's also possible to import 1 month of the historical data, as I mentioned before. You can do it right on this tab, or you can also do it a bit later. We'll do it a bit later. We'll skip this import for now. And the last tab just tells us how to put Synder on the autopilot. So basically, let's say just I need to change the way how the product was recorded, as again, this is the default product that we had in Xero Stripe product, as it's just the charge in Stripe. So let's see how we can adjust Synder for this flow. So products would be recorded in the needed way, and let's check settings overall. So I go with Explore Synder option, and we end up on the control panel. Here you'll be able to quickly check the state of both your business and Synder account, and And control panel will help you track if all is smooth with the connection and auto import. So like I have Shopify and Stripe connected, no auto import because I'm on the free trial. So this feature is only available on the subscription. So we'll also be able to enable them a bit later. And it again gives you a quick gross sales report. And what's the most important, the transactions feed overview. So if you scroll down the page, you'll see the details about the recent transactions that got imported. And right from this page, you can also access them in Xero by clicking those See in Xero and See Fees in Xero buttons. Another option is also to open the platform transactions tab at the top or on the left side. Right here. So here you'll see the list of all of your transactions synced with Synder so far. But meanwhile, let's change settings first to see how we can set things up just in the way that we need. For that, I click settings on the left side and then sync settings for the platform that we need. So in our case, it's Stripe. And there are a lot of different co-features, believe me. We'll go just through the most important ones, and we'll start with product settings to see how we can adjust the transaction that we synced before. For that, I switch to products and services. And basically what we'll need to do, we just need to enable one small feature of this get product name from the description of transaction or order. Again, it's the use case mostly for Stripe users only. If you just have charges in Stripe and the description contains only the item name, then this feature can help Synder treat this whole description as the item name. So for my case, it works perfectly because I only have these sunglasses as the item in the description. So I just enable this feature and that is it. So yeah, let's update the settings and let's also quickly overview the rest of the settings as well. First of all, what's the most important in this first tab is the auto import feature. Again, once you have the subscription, you have the option to enable this feature, which will mean that starting from that moment, once it's enabled, new transactions will be flowing to your Xero automatically. Then we also have the feature for Stripe users to sync open invoices if it's needed. And one more very important feature for Xero is enabled by default actually, but it's the feature to automatically reconcile all synced transactions. And let's move on to some other tabs. What is also very important in sales, fees, application fees, and expenses tabs is our clearing account, so-called clearing account for Stripe required for Synder. This clearing account is created automatically as soon as you connect Stripe and Xero to it. This account kind of plays the role of the actual Stripe that you have in real life. For each connected platform, there will be a separate clearing account as well. For Shopify, there also will be several accounts for some other platforms as well, mostly those for e-commerce platforms where you can accept POS orders, manual orders, cash, check transactions, and such things. So mostly this is the case for Square and Shopify users. And for the rest, there should be just one clearing account. So everything synced from Stripe will end up here, as again, this account kind of plays the role of the actual Stripe that you have in real life. And let's move on to the products and services tab. Several more important features here. First of all, the way how we manage products. There are just several different options on how we can work with them. Basically, it works in such a way that we see the product name, let's say in Stripe, and during the sync, we see this product name in Stripe, and we go to your product list in Xero and try to find the product with this name or SKU in Xero. If it's there, we just use this product on the transaction, and that's basically it. So this way we account for income categorization, we account for cost of goods sold, and for inventory if this item is of inventory type. All those things, categorization, inventory tracking is done based on the kind of product level. So option one, you can just make sure that you have product lists set up on both sides in your sales channels and in your Xero company, and their names or SKUs are the same. If you see that names are different and there is no way to change them in Xero or in sales channels, you can also use our product mapping feature. This feature just connects product lists. So you can just select the item as it is in Xero, let's say coffee, and type its name how it is in Stripe, let's say coffee beans. And there can also be several values, like not only coffee beans, but also something else. And this way you kind of connect two product lists or more between our sales channels and Xero. Another option is where products are not set up in Xero yet. Synder can also create them automatically. It happens during the sync. So basically you can just control how they are created. So the income account and the purchase account that those items will be assigned to. Here we have actually the default account specified, like Stripe sales and cost of goods sold. If needed, you can change them. But again, what's the most important, if the product is not in Xero yet during the sync, or if the names are different and product mapping is not set up, for example, as an option, Synder creates new product automatically during the sync according to those two settings. Another option for people who don't want to track all of the individual items, you can also switch from original to common product. And then in the second dropdown, you'll see the product that will be assigned to all the transactions synced from now on. So Synder will technically ignore all of the original item details in your Stripe and will push all of the transactions to Xero with this default Stripe product. So you'll just get this feature disabled back, get back to the original product and to enabling our feature again. And we move on to another tab, taxes, another super tricky part, but let me nail it down for you. Basically, what's the most important, if you just have taxes in Stripe and you have them set up in Xero, it's enough. Synder will account for taxes automatically. There are also some additional settings for sales and expenses. Those are mostly generic tax codes. Basically, how they work, they can add tax to the transaction if the transaction is initially not taxable. So, for example, you again don't have taxes in the Stripe payment and you want them to be there, so you can just select the needed tax from the dropdown. Or they can just completely rewrite the current tax on the transaction. So Synder will just ignore all the tax details that you have in Stripe, and as per the settings that you select here, it will just apply the needed taxes. So for example, we have several dropdowns here. Two dropdowns are for line items in the transaction, so for kind of products, and one more is for shipping amount. How it works, the first two dropdowns, they can be set up according to what you have in Stripe right now. Basically, if you have taxes in your Stripe transaction, you can set one certain generic tax code to be assigned to all of them. So in the dropdown over contain taxes, you just select the needed tax. This tax again will be applied only to the transactions that initially contain taxes in Stripe. And if the transaction does not contain taxes, I apply the tax exempt Xero rated tax code to it. As a sum up, again, I have, let's say, two transactions in Stripe. One is taxable, one is not. So the one that's taxable will get to my Xero company with the 8% tax code, and the one that does not have any taxes will go to Xero with Xero rated tax code. So it will work like that. It's also possible to apply taxes to shipping amount. So if the transaction contains shipping, you can also put tax on shipping in the third dropdown here. And another part is the tax for expense transactions. You can also apply taxes to different transaction types, whether they are expenses, fees, application fees, refunds for them, and so on. So you can just select the needed tax code in the dropdown. I'll just disable those two options for now because I don't need them. And let's move on to the fees tab. In the fees tab, there will be again our clearing account and the fee line account for Stripe fees, so this expense category. Similar thing for application fees. Application fees will be mostly for Stripe and Square users because those are the fees of some third-party apps connected to Stripe or Square for accepting payments. We just also account for their fees in Xero as well. Here is again our clearing account and the option to select the expense account for Stripe expenses. Just a note again, those are not Stripe processing fees. For them, you set everything up in the fees tab. Expenses are if you actually had expense transactions in Stripe. And the payouts tab, last but not least, you just make sure that this feature is enabled and you have your checking account specified here. We can also work with multi-currency. For that, let's say if you have different checking accounts to which Stripe or any other platform pays out in different currencies, you can also configure them under this get a gear icon on the right from the dropdown with the checking account. And we also can create additional settings for different transaction types. That's mostly for the cases where you need different transaction types to be synced differently. So you can set the settings for invoices separately, for maybe refunds separately, and so on. And we can just make sure that the settings are good. Click Update. And that's basically it. Once the auto import feature is enabled in settings, all future transactions will be synced according to this settings adjustments. Transactions that have been synced already, they won't change retroactively in your Xero, but they can be rolled back and then resynced. So let's switch to platform transactions tab. Select the needed transaction, click sync, rollback, and rollback sync. This action just completely deletes this transaction from Xero side. So now you can, let's say, you can change the settings as we just did, and then you'll be able to resync it, and settings adjustments, they will be actually applicable to this transaction. Just to note that rollback does not reinstate sync credits on the balance, so always better to go with a couple of transactions first. So let's sync this transaction back to Xero by clicking sync button. And now as it's synced, let's click explain under its brain sync status and see what Synder created for us. Basically, for nearly each sales transaction, we'll create 4 objects: invoice and payment for the sales part, and bill plus bill payment for the process and fees part. You can also click show in Xero buttons to see all 4 objects in Xero. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll see, we initially check the invoice, so we'll see how it was changed. And here's the invoice itself. So yeah, it finally has the needed item. It has the right item code. I just already had the item named sunglasses set up in my Xero account with exactly the same name as in Stripe. So its item code is 4. So it's here finally on the transaction and all is good. And here is the payment with the details. And here is the bill for the processing fees, and same thing for the bill payment. And now let's check how it affects the reports in Xero. Here is how our profit and loss report looks after the sync. As you see, different income categories with the corresponding amounts show up there. Synder handles this income categorization automatically based on the product name or SKU number. Synder can also apply location, so you can get even more detailed profit and loss report with us. Besides, we can also account for cost of goods sold. Since those items, both in Xero and in Stripe or inventory, we have the cost of goods sold amount specified here, and we also have Stripe fees. I don't have any Shopify fees because I only accept payments in Shopify via Stripe. So Stripe handles all of the fees, and that's also the completely normal process for e-commerce users. We'll also see how it happens in more details just a bit later, but for now, we have all of the categories recorded in the right way. And inventory got updated in Xero as well, as Synder just matched all the items by names or SKUs from all the connected platforms. So now my Xero shows the actual inventory available for the items. And as I mentioned, the whole Synder flow is tied up to our clearing account, Stripe account. Everything synced from Stripe will end up there, and for each platform, there will be a separate account, Shopify account, PayPal one, and so on. They are created by us automatically to mirror the actual money flow, so we can find them in the chart of accounts, first of all. Here they are for Stripe and for Shopify, and here is the Stripe one with multiple transactions synced so far. And we can also find this account in the bank account section. Or clearings also will show up here. That's okay. Those are, again, not real bank accounts, just so-called clearing accounts, holding accounts that just hold everything synced from this or that platform. And here we also have all the individual transactions synced so far, payments, fees, payouts, and so on. And they are automatically marked as reconciled. Remember that feature I mentioned in settings. This is, again, the feature that just automatically marks everything as reconciled. So there will be no need to do something additional to those transactions in Xero after the sync. And now we can see the positive balance on this account. That's the net amount of our Stripe sales synced so far. And its balance should be equal to what my Stripe shows, or it also can be zeroed out once Stripe pays out to the bank and you're seeing this payout with Synder. Because during this process, we make this transfer from this clearing account to the checking account, and this way the balance of our clearing account is zeroed out. So if everything works properly, your Stripe clearing account, as well as clearing accounts for other connected processors, should always be reconciled, as Synder will just update them with new details from the sales channels instantly or daily. And let's also see what we have in our bank feed, in our checking. We just open it or click reconcile 5 items. In the bank feed, we also see the money deposits from Stripe. And boom, we also see the match for them. So for one of them at least so far. So all you need to do now is just to confirm this match like that, and you're good to proceed with the reconciliation. And this flow will be the same, let's say at the end of each month, you'll just confirm those deposits one by one in a couple of clicks, and that's it. And now let's also import some historical data. For that, we switch to import historical data at the top. Synder allows importing 1 month of historical data on the trial. So basically on all of the subscription plans, it can be 1 year or there can be no limit as well. So we just select the platform from which we would like to import data, set the time range, and then we have 2 options: sync right away or import for review. We will go with the second one, import for review, because it will only import data into Synder without further synchronization to Xero for now, and we'll need to synchronize them manually, just as an exception to, again, test how everything works. Sync right away will just sync data right away to Xero. So that's also another option if you're already checked settings, some other sync results, and you're sure that everything will be working just in the way that you need. So yeah, we imported some of the transactions and let's filter them to see all of them on one page. They are with blue ready to sync status. For that, I click sync status, ready to sync, and apply filter. And we see 3 transactions so far. So I just select them like that, click sync and sync again. 1 sync credit is needed for 1 individual transaction synced, which can be a payment, an invoice payment, payout, refund, and so on. We only don't take sync credits for syncing process and fees. As for the rest, again, on the trial, which lasts for 7 days, you have several transactions synced already, like 10 to 15, and you have 1 month of historical data available and 10 sync credits on your balance. So you can technically sync 10 more test transactions. So let's see how those resulted in my Xero. So all 3 are synced already. And let's open Xero to see what we have. First of all, in the bank feed, we should have some more matches because we sync 2 more payouts, and here they are. So they're again highlighted in green. I just hit OK for both of them, and we're ready to proceed with the reconciliation. And let's check our Stripe account as well. Here it is. Accordingly, since we synced every transaction up to date, the balance of my clearing account of Stripe is zeroed out, which is another tip. If it's zeroed out, you've synced everything up to date. If the balance is the positive number, probably the payouts are on their way for now. And if it's the negative number, probably not all of the payments were synced. So just make sure that you start to sync transactions equally. Let's say you had the payout, and after the payout, you have the very first transaction, and starting from this one transaction, you start syncing the data with Synder. And another very important thing is how Synder works with e-commerce platforms. We're going to talk about the use case where I accept payments in Shopify via Stripe, but truly saying this use case is applicable to all other platforms, whether it's, let's say, WooCommerce plus Stripe or PayPal or something else, BigCommerce. So in other words, all of the other cases where there is the e-commerce platform and the payments there go not through this e-commerce platform directly, but through something else. So some external payment gateway, Stripe, PayPal, Square, and so on. How it works in Synder. I have the example of this order in Synder for 436 right here. This is technically, we see it like the payment coming from Stripe, and it's indeed the payment coming from Stripe, but the details for this payment there are in Shopify. So initially this was the Shopify order, just paid via Stripe. So that's why I technically end up having the details about it in both places, Shopify plus Stripe, but Shopify has full details about the order, like the product names, the details about taxes, shipping, if there is any, maybe some discounts, gift cards, and so on. And in Stripe, those are pretty basic details regarding the customer, amounts, dates, fees, and that's pretty much it. And the order number in the description. So how Synder treats those transactions? First of all, we need to make sure that both platforms are connected to Synder. So both Stripe and Shopify, they should be connected to Synder for full data capture. Then Synder checks that you have this payment, let's say, in Stripe, and it also goes to Shopify to make sure it's the same order in Shopify here. And then it just again kind of verifies that, okay, it's the same order. So I'm going to grab the details from Shopify and from Stripe both. And as the result, there will be no duplicates. And that's the most beautiful part about all of it. And the information will be taken from both places, from all sources. But as the result, it will be just one transaction in Synder and in Xero. So as the result, in Synder, we'll have this payment for 436. I just click explain. We'll just check how it results in Xero. And we'll check an invoice and the payment first to make sure that all of the details are captured there. And yeah, the invoice contains the details about the customer, address, the details about the product, the discount, the tax rate, and this all was taken out from Shopify as far as you see. And the payment will look like that. And let's also check the bill and bill payment. They will be related to Stripe processing fees, obviously, because the payment goes through Stripe. So here's how they look. What we got as the result, this transaction will be technically recognized by Synder as the Stripe payment because technically the payment actually goes through Stripe and Stripe is the one to pay out for this payment later to your bank. So the transaction itself will be showing up as the Stripe one. The fees will be related to Stripe processing fees as well. And the payout will be made by Stripe, and eventually we'll see this transaction as a Stripe one in Synder and in Xero. And it will be the case again for other platforms. If you have WooCommerce plus PayPal and orders from WooCommerce are paid via PayPal, you'll obviously see them as PayPal transactions in Synder and in Xero as well. So this is how it will work. Again, just make sure that you connect all of the platforms to Synder. The information will be taken from both sources, and eventually there will be no duplicates, and you'll have full data captured in your Xero. And last but not least, our sales analytics feature. Remember how we selected sales analytics on the onboarding step? So here it goes. It's a live reporting software inside of Synder, which provides you with multiple useful reports and keeps them up to date. So you see live data. They are divided into three main parts. So they are related to cash, products, and customers analytics. But long story short, with their help, you'll be able to see your most beneficial products, clients, sales channels, if you have several, and many more. Each will basically help you determine which product needs to be improved, replaced, or removed, and what are the most beneficial regions for your business, for example, and let's say when to come up with some special offers and maybe some loyalty programs for your maybe returning or some other clients. So here is how it will work, and feel free to check it out as it can save you a lot of time. And finally, we can finish the configuration by subscribing to any of the suitable plans and automating the sync. As you can see, Synder can automatically sync transactions, filling all of the reports, automate the reconciliation, update inventory, and many more. But don't think it's just bookkeeping, as Synder literally helps you to enhance your business. As all the processes are now automated in your books, you have plenty of free time to invest it into other branches of your business, knowing your numbers from detailed reports provided by Synder. So you can see your most beneficial products, locations, clients, and grow your business instead of keeping the books. So that's how quick and easy Synder actually works. Now, once the results of the synchronization look perfect, go ahead and subscribe with no per integration cost, unlike other apps, to enjoy the complete automation of your online sales bookkeeping. It's been my pleasure guiding you through. You can also find plenty of useful guides and video tutorials right here on the left side in our help center. And for any additional help, just apply to us via chat, phone, or email, as we're available almost 24/7. Have a good journey with Synder.